I could think about was Greg in that wig. I don't know how many of you went to the memorial service, but there was this poster of Greg in this huge wig. And it captured him perfectly in his willingness to be serious, because it was a poster for his re-election, an alleged poster for his re-election. But it captured the fact that he was willing to make fun of himself and to understand the humor in all things. And we all miss him a great deal. It was a huge loss to our family. And I wanted to acknowledge that on a day that is very happy for me. It is filled with sadness as well, for me as well as for all of you. For a colleague who was dear to all of us, and who we hold in our heart now and forever. So, we are lucky enough to serve this great state. And 4 years ago, this body elected me to serve as Speaker of the House. I am humbled now, as I was then, by the faith that you have placed in me to serve as your Speaker. I hope to honor that faith over the coming 2 years as we work together to make Vermont a better place. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the people who make this all possible. And they are sitting, some of them are sitting to the right of me, both figuratively and literally. My stepfather, Stuart, my brother Spencer, my mother Michelle, and my wonderful wife Melissa, who has been incredibly supportive during the 10 years that I've been in elections, and has been appropriately challenging as well. And this job is not an easy one, and is only made possible through the partnership that I have with you, Melissa. And we're in our, shall we call them, spirited young children, to be charitable. So I just want to acknowledge and thank you very much for all of this. In the years since I was first elected Speaker, our state and country have experienced a grave economic downturn, and politics have become increasingly polarized on the national level. The political culture in our nation's capital has left many discouraged and, quite frankly, disgusted. As the country faces monumental challenges, huge future fiscal imbalances, crumbling infrastructure, and an education system that is not preparing our children for citizenry or for our workforce, many openly wonder whether our leaders and systems are capable of putting aside their differences, rolling up their sleeves, and laying a foundation for a strong future. I believe that we can set a better example in Vermont. In the past 4 years, in the wake of great economic and political stress, and in the wake of Tropical Storm Irene, Vermonters have united both within this body and across the state to face our challenges, see within them possibility, and chart a course for a better future. So what are our challenges as we look out over the next year? And where do we see possibility? Vermont's education system is a national leader. A high percentage of our students graduate from high school. A significant number of our adult citizens have college degrees. More, in fact, than most other states. Our test scores are among the best in the country. Yet too few of our high school students seek a college degree. Many employers tell us how challenging it is to find qualified workers to fill job vacancies. And most alarming is that educational attainment is still lagging behind for those on the lower end of the economic ladder. We have, through many of the policies that we have adopted in this legislature, laid a strong foundation. We commit more resources than almost any other state in the country to our K-12 education system. And our scores are among the best. But our students should and must be the best prepared in the country. That is the goal that we must hold. Whether graduating from high school, from a college or university, or continuing education after college, we need to ensure that our students have the skills necessary to succeed once they leave school. Now, we need to work together to find innovative ways to reduce the crushing financial burden that many now experience when they complete their college education. Our committees on education and commerce and economic development will work together to ensure that we are providing the legislation necessary to meet these goals over the next 2 years. For too long, the cost of healthcare in Vermont, as in the rest of the country, has been rising at an unsustainable rate, straining Vermonters' finances and making access to healthcare less attainable. In Vermont, we recognize this challenge and have it. Vermont is in the midst of transforming its healthcare system. And by healthcare system, I mean our entire healthcare system, physical and mental health. We may live in the healthiest state in the nation, yet we face many of the pressures that the rest of the nation faces with regards to health. Our life expectancy, infant mortality, and percentage of Americans suffering from heart disease and obesity rank worse than many other developed nations. That is unacceptable. We are on a path here in Vermont to an affordable, universal, integrated healthcare system in Vermont. But we can't get there fast enough. There is no doubt that this transition is going to be difficult. There will be bumps in the road, and there already have been. But we understand the importance of moving forward. And as we move forward, we must evaluate and incorporate changes that need to be made. Because it is incumbent on us to ensure that the pressure is kept on reducing costs and that we move forward to make sure that everyone in this state has access to affordable health. While we have passed energy bills that pave the way for a cleaner environment and a reduced dependency on foreign oil, we have increasingly been witness to dramatic weather events. The drought that engulfed so much of the country last summer and the second hurricane to ravage the eastern seaboard in as many years is an example of how devastating natural disasters are likely to be the norm in the future. That is why we must adapt and act swiftly to address the threat of global climate change. Our actions must include efforts to reduce future impacts to our climate, but we must also recognize that our climate has been altered, and it is likely that we cannot do anything about it. We must acknowledge that those changes have real-world implications for Vermonters, not just Vermonters, but Vermont businesses. Our actions need to include looking at those impacts. During the coming session, the Committee on Natural Resources and Energy will work with the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development to take testimony from businesses and the people of the state of Vermont, to learn the details of the effects of climate change, to learn what measures are being taken to adapt to this change, and how we can lead the charge to prevent future degradation of our environment. I know that some of us will say it's kind of cold last night, and that it was kind of cold last week. But all you have to do is actually talk to the owner of a ski resort, the stores that rely on traffic from snowmobiles, or from ice fishing, or other tourist activities, to understand that there are real and profound economic implications to what is happening to our planet. We will hear from those people to understand how they're adapting and how we can help them to prevent the need for further adaptation as we move forward. And like the rest of the country, Vermont's current infrastructure is not sufficient for a strong economic future. We have taken steps to address this challenge, using ERA monies wisely to improve our roads and bridges, build out a better broadband network, and modernize our electrical grid. While our commitment to make long-term investments in the state's physical infrastructure and human capital has been a priority, our work is not finished. We must continue to ensure that our telecommunications infrastructure and our broadband infrastructure is at the top of the list. It is what will make us competitive economically throughout this country and throughout the world. And it is what will allow us to reverse the demographic decline and make Vermont an attractive place to be. We have to address the long-term challenges that face our transportation funds. We must also work to ensure that one of our state's most precious resources, our own Great Lake Champlain, is restored to its natural beauty. These aren't our only challenges. We face an epidemic of opioid abuse and the specter of a similar epidemic of methamphetamines. Our benefit structures can at times discourage Vermonters from economic advancement. With all good intentions, we have put together a structure that helps people, but also sometimes can hinder them, and we need to fix it. Our wages are not growing fast enough. I believe that unlike Washington, we are up to facing these challenges. Why? You might ask. Well, we're a small state with closely knit communities. I, like you, visit with my neighbors at corner stores, coffee shops, and community schools, discussing the pros and cons of what we're doing in Vermont. And here's my story. And we all know we can't avoid it. You're going down the aisle, you see someone who's coming at you. You can look at the frozen pizza only so long before you have to turn around and acknowledge the person's there and It's that intimacy of our democracy that protects us from the forces that rend our nation's political power. It continues to be the source of our strength as a body and as a state. As we engage each other, we realize that in spite of our differences, we have at our very core the same goal, a commitment to each other and a commitment to make the world a better place for all. In the end, I believe we, as all Vermonters, are humble enough to admit our challenges, thoughtful enough to consider all possible solutions, responsible enough to work with those with whom we disagree, and brave enough to chart new courses where necessary. Humility, thoughtfulness, responsibility, and bravery. America and Vermont's past success was possible because people practiced these principles. Our greatest ideals and ideas flowed from these foundations. Let us today embrace these principles as we begin our work to build a better Vermont. Let us be servants to Vermont's future and to its very special people. Let us get to work. Thank you.